Hi, Gary Stearman. I'd like to talk about a subject that we have talked about in the past, and virtually anyone in the field of prophetic Bible study talks about Isaiah 17, the burden of Damascus. It's back in the news again, along with Ezekiel 38, and what we're talking about is ISIS. ISIS is in the news. Iraqi forces and ISIS are battling back and forth. You see it every day in the news. It's covered by many sources. The word now, according to the most reliable reports, is that Syria is now about 50% under the control of ISIS, the Islamic State, as they call themselves, of Iraq and Syria. The Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant was, I think, their original designation. And essentially, when you read the term ISIS, you should think everything from Turkey to Saudi Arabia, all the way up from Persia on the east to the Mediterranean on the west. That's what they're after. They're after total control of the Middle East. Why? Their dream is to put the Middle East back under the control of what used to be called the Ottoman Empire. Back in 1916, there was a treaty signed between England, France, and Russia. It was called the Sykes-Picot Treaty, signed March 16, 1916. That treaty drew up boundaries in the Middle East. It drew up the boundaries of modern Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Transjordan, as it was then called, is now called Jordan, Israel. Israel got a piece of the action, as you may well remember, the Balfour Declaration of 1917, the year following the Sykes-Picot Treaty. And the boundaries went all the way south into Saudi Arabia and Yemen. And so here's the thing, that the Arabs in the Middle East and the leaders of Islam have detested, ever since 1916, they have detested the idea that England got to draw the boundaries of the old defunct Ottoman Empire. And they have quietly, seethingly over the years dreamed of the day when they could come back and reestablish the old empire. Well, that's the battle that's going on. So no matter what the newspapers say, no matter what the internet says, the news magazines, the fact is that control of the area of the old Ottoman Empire by the Islamic State is the battle that's going on right now. And as I said a moment ago, Syria is about 50% under the control of ISIS. They are headed toward Damascus. And many people are saying that ISIS dramatically increases the likelihood that Damascus will face destruction. And I read Isaiah 17, and I suppose that many of you who are listening right now will note that you've heard this all before. This is part 10 of a continuing drama. Well, yes, it is. Isaiah 17, the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. Big sentence, verse 1. I mean, that pretty much says it all. Damascus, the oldest continually occupied city on the face of the earth, is going to turn into a ruinous heap. How would you do that? Well, some people have said it would take a nuclear bomb of some sort to turn Damascus into a ruinous heap. I'm not sure it would have to go that far. Second verse of Isaiah 17 says the cities of Aroer are forsaken. What is Aroer, you ask? Well, Aroer is the territory to the south and to the east of the current battle zone, and that would include Transjordan, that would include all country down through Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, all the way into Saudi Arabia, perhaps. But Aroer is certainly what was called Transjordan in the Sykes-Picot Treaty of 1916. And the cities of Aroer are going to be involved in this destruction, meaning that whatever war destroys Damascus will also destroy the territory to the south, all the way probably down to the city of Amman, Jordan. And there it goes. There is the beginning of the fulfillment of Bible prophecy. Well, we've talked about this for a long time, but now the news is out. You listen to the president and the prime minister of Turkey, President Erdogan of Turkey, along with Prime Minister Davutoglu, have declared, we will gather the Muslim world, invade Jerusalem, and create a one-world Islamic empire. That's Prime Minister Davutoglu of Turkey. And here's a quote from the president. By Allah's will, Jerusalem belongs to the Kurds, the Turks, the Arabs, and to all Muslims. And as our forefathers fought side by side at Gallipoli, and just as our forefathers went together to liberate Jerusalem with Saladin, we will march together on the same path to liberate Jerusalem. Point here, it's very, very easy to understand these people. They state very plainly what they're after. This is what ISIS is after. They want to get that pesky guy who is now the reigning, if you will, monarch of Damascus. They want to get him out of the way entirely. And they want to get the Middle East under some kind of control. So you go back to the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city. It shall be a ruinous heap. The prophecy of Isaiah ends by making a statement that is very clear. Isaiah 17:13 says, the nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but God shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like a rolling thing before a whirlwind. This is very apocalyptic imagery here, and it happens quickly, within perhaps 24 hours. Isaiah 17:14 says, and behold, at eventide trouble, and before the morning he is not. It's a 24-hour war, and that can only be a war as fought with modern equipment. The wars of the medieval era of the 19th and 20th centuries took a long time. Now we're talking about lightning war, an overnight war, if you will. And the closing words of Isaiah 17, this is the portion of them that spoil us, and the lot of them that rob us. It's spoken from Israel's point of view. An enemy will attack and be supernaturally defeated, but in the thrust of that battle, not only will Damascus be turned into a ruinous heap, but the cities of Aroer are going to be destroyed. And now that would include all of the cities, maybe from Transjordan and Amman, Jordan, all the way over to Kuwait, perhaps a little south of Kuwait. We just don't know how far the territory would go. Again, they say in Turkey, speaking loudly and clearly, and they approve seemingly of what ISIS wants to do. By Allah's will, Jerusalem belongs to the Kurds, the Turks, the Arabs, and to all Muslims. They're going to Jerusalem, friends, and after that, they say, we want to destroy Rome. In their mind, Rome is the West. That includes Europe and those who migrated from Europe to the Western Hemisphere, namely the United States of America. They have their eyes on controlling the entire world. But the stage at which we currently seem to be lodged is certainly Isaiah 17, the burden of Damascus. Damascus is taken away from being a city. It shall be a ruinous heap. And remember this comment from the news, Syria is now about 50% under the control of ISIS. That's militant Islam. That's fanatic Islam. And to say it correctly, this is the Islam that wants to reestablish the old caliphate that was taken apart by that treaty, the Sykes-Picot Treaty in March of 1916. Go back and study that yourself. You'll be amazed at how the Middle East came to be the tangle and confusion that it is today. We're watching, and we'll be watching this one very carefully. You be watching too. I'm Gary Stearman. Have a great day in the Lord, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter, or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.